Well, good afternoon to each and every one of you, be you human, extraterrestrial, hybrid, or other. I welcome you to this conference and commend you for your curiosity and willingness to have an open mind. Although somebody once said it's probably not too good to have an open mind that's so open your brain falls out, and I would have to agree with that. Anyway, I was invited to speak at this conference because I did my doctoral dissertation in clinical psychology on alien-human hybrids living here on Earth. And I have a strong background in the theory and practice of scientific research methodology. I completed my doctoral program in clinical psychology at Pacifica Graduate Institute, a WASC accredited school in Carpinteria, California, about 10 minutes south of Santa Barbara. And before that, I also earned a bachelor's degree in general psychology and a master's degree in counseling psychology, both from one of our California state universities. It seemed to me that the California State University programs were pretty traditionally based when I got those 2 degrees over 20 years ago. It seemed they were sort of straight-laced and not much thinking outside the box was welcomed. I'm mentioning this because I want you to understand that I've been thoroughly trained in scientifically based academic research protocols. I had become quite practiced in logic, the difference between cause and correlation, research protocols, statistical analysis, operational definitions, double-blind studies, formal presentations of hypotheses, accounting for variables, and all the other essential components of the traditionally favored empirical method of doing experimental research. Pacifica Graduate Institute also supports and often uses empirical methodology in their psychology research, but they are at the same time open to a wider variety of other scientifically sanctioned investigative protocols. The method that I was encouraged by faculty at Pacifica to use because it worked best for my topic is called phenomenological research. And yes, it took me a long time to practice saying that, phenomenological. It is a way to bring together information in order to define a particular phenomenon and is a method appropriate to gathering a baseline of verbal descriptions without which one could not do any sort of empirical research. My task was to try to define the topic because an operational definition is essential to empirical research methodology before something can be taken farther or further analyzed. A phenomenological study aims to capture approximations of factors defining a topic by interviewing subjects and then culling similarities, differences, and variables in the subject's descriptions of the phenomena to create a definitional outline of the structure of the phenomena being studied. So you may wonder how I came to scientifically study the phenomena of alien-human hybrids living here on Earth. Several factors came together to facilitate that unlikely research topic. First, and quite coincidentally, I'm sure you all know about the coincidences. On the very day in 1986 that I would have walked in the graduation ceremony for my master's degree, instead I had an experience that graduated me into something much greater, grander, and more profound. I was with my then husband and our 5 children in Mexico. Well, there weren't 5 of them at that time. Our children in Mexico City for the World Cup soccer games and to visit his family. We were there for 10 days, and I didn't put together the irony of this timing until later. My brother-in-law Guillermo is a very intelligent, astute man, a well-renowned medical doctor in Mexico City, a colonel in their army, and a very spiritual, metaphysically based man. He mentioned one day that he did past life regressions. And although I didn't believe in any of that stuff at that time, I was curious nonetheless. And so I asked him to, do me. So what came out of that experience began my journey into the heretofore unknown realm. It was as if that day I was inaugurated into an alternate path in life. Instead of walking in my master's degree in psychology graduation that day, I was instead honored with a graduation into the world of metaphysics. The plethora of synchronistic events that I began to notice sprinkling themselves into my life had only just begun. I did realize later that there had been cosmic choreography here and there in my life since I was young. I just never had any inkling of what it was or what it meant, or how to think about it, how to integrate it into my worldview. So now we move forward from graduation day in 1986 to May of 1995, 9 years later. I'm in the second year of my doctoral program at Pacifica Graduate Institute, and I'd had a multitude of experiences over those 9 years, which totally convinced me, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that many things exist and occur that we may not understand and science cannot yet prove. But nonetheless, these things happen to people all over the world and have occurred throughout the entire history of humankind. Just because our science of today can't prove it yet doesn't mean that whatever it is isn't true. Take the example of germs. Until around 400 years ago, when the microscope was invented, germs existed and always had, and impacted human life for better or worse, and always had. Scientists hypothesized about something causing illness, although all they could do was document their observations until technology advanced enough to produce a way of seeing things we hadn't been able to see before. So there I was, May of 1995, sitting at the beach in Carpinteria after classes one Sunday afternoon. I was reading a book on how to survive your dissertation, and I already had a topic in mind. I had some vague thought about what the psychological impact might be if in the future at some point some sort of communal living became mandatory in order to conserve resources for the survival of the human species. After reading a while, I put the book down to rest and gazed absently over the ocean. And in that moment, a holographic image of a typical alien face superimposed itself there and telegraphically dictated, well, I wouldn't call it dictated, commented that I should do my dissertation on alien-human hybrids living here on Earth, and then it disappeared. And I sat there with my mouth open, thinking, what the heck was that? And what the heck is it talking about? And no, I wasn't using drugs or on any alcohol or anything. I had never had any particular interest in UFOs or extraterrestrials, although I did watch Star Trek and Outer Limits and Twilight Zone like everybody else. But until that day, the deepest thought I had had on the subject was, well, I suppose UFOs and extraterrestrials could exist. Over the next few months, I told a couple of fellow students in my doctoral class about what Joseph Campbell might define as a call to adventure. I laughed and joked about the hybrid thing and didn't take it seriously at all. Well, I've discovered that although I absolutely believe that we ultimately have free will at every moment, we also may have volunteered for a mission before we came into the lifetime, and that efforts can be compounded and intensified in higher sources' choreography to try to get one to answer their call. The opportunities to do that which you are called to do can come up over and over in many different presentations. So 5 months after the initial vision at the beach, it's now October of 1995, and I'm sitting in my dissertation development class. We're supposed to announce our dissertation research topic to the professor in the class that day. I still had my original topic in mind and fully intended to follow through with it. Well, when it came my turn to speak, my mind went totally blank, and there was just this marquee flashing hybrids, hybrids, hybrids. I'd had enough metaphysical experience and understanding through the last 9 years to realize that, oh, I guess this means maybe I'm really supposed to do this. So I kind of reluctantly announced the hybrid topic, and after the laughter quieted down, the class went on break. My professor, Robert Romanishan, Ph.D., and another student came up to me to tell me of certain books they thought might help me begin my research. That really stopped me in my tracks. You mean this is real? And I'm jumping in with both feet, blind and naive? Daunting adventure, to say the least.